The Knicks are down 10 at the half. Third quarter, they end up tied after 3 because they had their best quarter of the night. They outscored the Pistons 33-23 in the third quarter. The question is, why were they so much better in the third quarter than the other 3 quarters?
It was about the defense. The defense initiated the offense, and you didn't allow some of your offense to affect your intensity on defense. I just felt like, look how they just get after it. Remember, we talked about deflections, taking the paint away from them as well, and then transition. Push the pace. There was no walking it up. There was running it up. But you can do that when you're getting stops. Great help there by Nerlens Noel, who, by the way, in a game like this ended up being, I think, plus 10, which is pretty interesting. But it's all about deflections. It's all about your positioning. Look at how strong Elfrid Payton is there on the post-up. That's all the stuff you want to see because you're going to have to be that scrappy team. I mean, that's who they're going to have to be if they're going to be competitive this season. Tom Thibodeau even talked about it. You know, you got to know who you are. You got to just understand this is who we are, so this is how we have to play. It took them a half to find it, but that's the good news. They were able to find it. So
and that was the starters.
Friday wasn't a fluke.
Right.
Yes, then the second unit came in, and that stopped immediately.
So the starters in the third quarter played the best basketball the Knicks played all night.
Yes.
And, you know, it's worth pointing out that the second unit, and one of the themes here, the preseason, is Coach Thibodeau's trying to get to a 9 or 10-man rotation.
Yeah.
Second unit, Dennis Smith struggled. Bullock didn't shoot the ball well.
Oh, 1 for 7.
Knox was off his game. Toppin was not as
and again,
impactful as he was
Knox
the other
and
night.
Toppin struggled because Dennis struggled. You know, it's not to blame it all on one guy, but those two guys rely so much on transition, use their athleticism and length. They need a point guard. They need somebody that can get them organized, get them set up. They're not creators for themselves, but in a game like this, they had to be.
Now, you wonder, Austin Rivers still out with a bad groin. Does he potentially maybe fit as that point guard off the bench?
Frank Ntilikina didn't play a lot in this game as well. He played a lot more on Friday night. I think Frank probably would want to get a chance to show what he can do in that position. And Emmanuel quickly got his first minutes of the preseason in this game, and some of them were at the point guard position. Not enough for us to really get an idea of it. He did play late in this game as both coaches put their younger guys out to finish this game. So neither team was really going for the win. They wanted to get their young guys in those crunch time situations. But I do think a Frank Ntilikina probably wants to get a shot at that, as Dennis has gotten a long look now in 2 games. And you don't want to give up on people, but you only have 2 preseason games left to figure out what your rotation is going to be when you start the season.
All right, you touched on R.J. Barrett. He was excellent tonight.
He's solid.
25 points. Really good in the second half in particular, and he looked really good, really good.
And I'll tell you what, I'll also point out that he was 4 for 5 from the free throw line, and you're going to say, who cares about the free throw line? Well, he does, because he shot so poorly from the free throw line to start last season, and it affected his overall free throw percentage. But in this game, everything in the flow. Nothing forced. Look at that finish, and an assist to Mitchell Robinson for the screen there. So, he knows his matchups, and what do we know about R.J. Barrett? What have we learned about him as he's now figured out that nice little turnaround with the leg up? Is that he has figured out how to score, how to get into the paint, draw contact, and score against anyone. And after a bad start Friday night, look at those numbers over 2 games now. Remember, that was a terrible start.
Look at the shooting
for him.
numbers.
And he caught it. He caught up to get good percentages, good numbers, and good production.
All right, so you also mentioned Barrett at the line, and that's something that we talked about the Knicks overall really struggling in that category. But Barrett was 4 out of 5 from the
4 out of 5 for him, and also Julius Randle getting to the foul line, as I mentioned as well. He did a really good job. I believe he got to the line for 9 of 12, so he gets to 12 free throws, which shows you he also isn't settling for jump shots. And it was interesting to see him slowly in this game emerge as a point forward who pushed the pace. Last year, Julius Randle didn't seem like somebody that wanted to run. He was one of the guys that actually slowed the team down at times. And in this game, especially off turnovers, but even off defensive rebounds, you saw him getting it out, pushing it up the floor, taking it himself, and trying to become that kind of facilitator.